Well, hello, friends. Welcome to the reversion. I'm so glad that you decided to join us here this evening. As always, I'm Anthony Westgate, and we've got an exciting show this evening. We'll have Cleave to Antiquity joining us. I'm sure you all know him. If not, I'll give him an introduction when he joins. But we're going to be discussing a lot of what's going on with the recent, I guess, more recent developments in Protestant apologetics. As you all know, the Protestant apologists are kind of scrambling, and it's been this way for the past, I would say, past 6 months to a year, to come up with arguments against orthodoxy as members of their congregations are leaving to come to the church. And we'll be discussing that with Cleave. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss this one. It's going to be good. Hello to everyone in the chat. We've got a donation came in already. Look at that from the Chadmiral. Let's go. $10 certified D1 pay piggy. Yes, sir. Thank you for the 10 there, Chadmiral. I should just play the intro and then end the stream there. Maybe that's the key. Just get all the pay piggy donos and I won't have to say anything. Many of you have been demanding I bring back the intro, and because I think the last couple streams I didn't use it, but I didn't abandon that intro. I have a different one that's for other streams that are, I guess, more of the like not the deep dive type streams. I guess I don't know. I was playing around with other intros that are shorter because you know it's like a minute and a half or something. But glad you all like it though. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, what's up, guys? Uh, oh, there we go. Antique cleavage raid. Let's go. Welcome on in, guys, from the Cleave stream. I think he'll probably be joining us shortly here, so we'll get him up. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into this. I was on his stream a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the esoteric influence of Protestantism on there, and it was a little bit more of a serious discussion regarding that. And so I did want to get into more practical stuff with him regarding his conversion. So we'll be getting into that a little bit tonight. Cleave to the Westgate, sure. Yeah. What's up, Oscar? We've got Oscar in chat. Jesus is illegal under Noahide. That's a good name. Very true. And we've got Cleave with us. Let me make sure I've got the right scene here. This is going to be a noob stream moment here. There we go. What's up, man?
What's up? What's going on, man? Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, we got the Cleave raid underway already. So thanks for sending the boys over here. Yeah, I was just doing a little intro here. Just, I'm not sure if my viewers all know who you are or know your story. I would imagine they all do, but if you want to just do an introduction, if people don't know who you are for some reason, you've been making the rounds all over the Orthodox world online, as far as YouTube goes, at least. So, because I remember, I think it was your kind of announcement that you were converting to Orthodoxy was on Father Peter Here's podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, it was on
Yeah.
Orthodox Ethos. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself here.
Sure. So my name is Ben. I run the channel Cleave to Antiquity. I am a real life cave troll. I live in the caves. I don't go outside. I don't do anything like a normal human being. No, I'm just kidding. So no, I run an Orthodox channel where I interview priests. We do geopolitics discussions. We talk about some esoteric subjects. Mostly do interviews at this point. We'll do reaction videos, stuff like that. But yeah, I was a Protestant pastor that converted to Orthodoxy, and I'm on that journey now. So I invite people that watch my channel to follow me in that journey. So it's interesting, and I got a lot of interesting guests coming up as well, and it's been a lot of fun.
What I never asked, but what denomination was your church that you were pastoring?
Yeah, I was a non-denominational pastor.
Ah, okay. So, and you, from what I remember, you were kind of starting down the path of inquiring, or at least like playing with the ideas of more traditional forms of Christianity. I wouldn't even say particularly Orthodox or Catholic, more so closer to like what the reformers believed. I mean, regarding Mary, at least, like the Marian veneration, like none of the reformers really abandoned that. So it seems like you were kind of, you know, asking questions that a lot of modern Protestants are now making like a dogmatic point of argument around. How
Yeah,
did
I
your
mean, I
like?
would,
Yeah,
I would, I would do a lot of interviews with like Lutherans, Anglicans, and stuff like this. A lot of those same people just absolutely hate me today, though. like I would have like other Paul on when none of the other Protestant channels would have him on because of his odd some of his odd views. But I've had him on the show. I've had other Anglicans on the show. I had the guys from Scholastic Lutherans on. Lutheran pastors I'd bring on, some Anglican figures, things like this. And yeah, I mean, we would talk about basically some of our gripes with more evangelical expressions of Christianity. Memorialism was a subject that we pushed back on quite a bit on the show. When I was a Protestant, we talk about real presence. We talk about baptismal regeneration. Those were all things that I had affirmed by the time I was on YouTube. Um, Mary as a perpetual virgin. That was something that we did a video on discussing how all of the reformers believed that Mary was a perpetual virgin, and that's an absurd thing to reject now. That ruffled
yeah.
a lot of feathers. A lot of the evangelicals were mad about that because it's like you can't get too close to anything that sounds, Roman Catholic, anything that sounds like, oh, those yucky, you know, it's a knee jerk counter reaction to what they perceive as quote unquote idolatry. It's all the boomer slop apologetics they heard in the 90s and early 2000s. Anything that gets close to that is a big no no.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good indicator that the whole Protestant movement, the entire nature of it is like they're in a perpetual state of I wouldn't even say reform anymore, because they're not reforming anything. They're just rebelling against Rome, and so they're just reacting to the Roman Catholic innovations. The Roman Catholics do elevate Mary above like what the Orthodox do, and there's been critiques from some of our modern saints. Saint John Maximovich wrote about this in the Veneration of the Mother of God, how they started to really, I think, I don't remember if it was Vatican II around that time, or it was maybe even before that, but they clearly started to really kind of take a more extreme approach to their Marian veneration, and so the Protestants just push back against anything that that the Roman Catholics do, and it's like that to me was always a problem, because I always had an issue with the fact that there was no mutual agreement universally on any of the core doctrines of Christianity: baptism, how one is saved, the regeneration process, like all this stuff they all debate over, all these denominations. And then on top of that, it's like, well, what are we supposed to believe about Mary? It's like, what church do I go to if I'm not a Lutheran or an Anglican, and I want to venerate the Mother of God to some degree? It's like there's kind of no home for you.
Right. I think logically those are the only options you have as a Protestant, right? Like if you became convinced of the perpetual virginity, then that is a real threat, because then really all you have is Anglicanism and some expressions of Lutheranism. I mean, you could probably find some individual Presbyterians and things like this that believe that. So don't take that as a dogmatic statement, but it certainly does narrow down the playing field quite a bit. I mean, so does baptismal regeneration and real presence in the Eucharist. These are all things that start to weed out low church evangelicalism. In the live stream that we were doing just prior to this, we were talking about some of the things that Bryce Crawford, a popular evangelical evangelist, was wrestling with. He was saying that he started to believe more in the importance of the sacraments, believe more in the importance of tradition. Well, if you start to think that the sacraments are necessary, right? There's only so many places you can go. So he's doing interviews with. He just did one with a Coptic priest. He did one with a Roman Catholic priest. Now he's got Sam Shimon. I don't know why he's interviewing Sam Shimon, but he's doing an interview with Sam Shimon now. But I think he's probably going to leave Protestantism too, just because there's only so many places you can go. Look at the state of the Lutheran churches today, though. I mean, ELCA is a train wreck. That wouldn't even be close to an option. They don't believe anything coherent. They have the Sparkle Creed. They've got rainbow flags everywhere. You've got the LCMS, Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, which is supposed to be like the conservative option for the Lutherans, but they've got freaking rabbis on their clergy roster, dude. Like it's insane. Some of the stuff that happens in the LCMS, they've got furry pastors. We've covered this on the show. Some of the stuff that goes on in the LCMS is absolutely absurd. It's clown world level stuff. Well, where else do you go? You go to the Anglicans that are basically on a timer before each individual denomination starts ordaining women. This is what happened in the Episcopal Church in the 60s to 70s. And then later on, now you have the ACNA that now ordains women today. They were supposed to be the conservative option. So then you've got an off break from that. Now you've got the Continuum. So how long until the Continuum starts to ordain women? It's just you just got to keep running away from these institutions instead of acknowledging that the foundation of them is rotten.
Yeah, and the solution to all of this is to just further fragment into more denominations. It's like, oh well, we don't like the direction our denomination is going, and we're going to reform our own denomination. So yeah, it's what I want to get into, because I know that you've talked a lot about your conversion among all of the various YouTube channels you've been on. And so I thought maybe a good format for this show is to talk more about kind of the state of Protestant apologetics, and specifically within that, how the Protestants are kind of, or the Protestant apologists, I'll say, it seems like a pretty new trend that they're all now trying to develop some kind of arguments against orthodoxy, which they hadn't acknowledged before. When I converted, I came from a Protestant background. I have an education at a Protestant university, and so when I was kind of like re-exploring Christianity, I was like, I don't know where to start, because like this is the whole reason I kind of left Christianity altogether. It was like all these qualms I had with the Protestant denominations, and I saw all this stuff happening. It was during COVID, but I was looking at debates and stuff on YouTube between the different, Protestants and Catholic, Protestant and Orthodox, and there really wasn't much. Like there was a few videos of like Protestant versus Orthodox. There wasn't like this whole huge feed where you see this continuous ongoing dialogue, new videos every week, right? New scandals, new people like leaving the Protestantism for whatever, right? Like that wasn't a thing when I was converting only 5 years ago. So this is a pretty recent development. And, I think that what's happening is the reason for this scramble to come up with specifically Orthodox arguments against Orthodoxy, opposed to the standard Catholic arguments they have. They're trying to kind of figure out the nuances, right? Is because they're seeing it as something that their people are leaving for. And so that's just like a response to that. I mean, we don't have all this stuff where it's like we have to, engage in apologetics against other false religions to keep our people out of converting into them. It's like
Right.
it's defensive, but yeah. So they're kind of like on the offensive now. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about more is like how it's backfiring on them. Like all these arguments are just drawing more attention to orthodoxy, and you're not seeing Orthodox people convert to Protestantism. Like, so it's clearly not working.
Yeah, I think for most people that is true. Um, I think a lot of these channels serve more a defensive purpose. Like Gavin Ortland's channel is mostly to combat ecclesial anxiety. He said that as much. He says, but it's not so much an offensive attack. It is to try to keep as many people Protestant as possible. So that's kind of where they're at right now. Also, one of the reasons I started my channel was because Redeem Zoomer had asked me, he said, look, we're getting slaughtered on YouTube. Nobody's doing this. You do debates on Discord, you do pretty good. I had kind of had a reputation at that point for going into Orthodox servers, debating people, winning those debates and getting banned. Now, that didn't mean I was correct, but rhetorically, I was able to hold my ground, and most Protestants weren't able to do that. So that's why the channel grew so quick, because I was able to do the live call-in streams. I'd have people call in and we'd debate. I'd toss some stuff out that got people to think, which honestly should make me fear and tremble before God that he didn't turn me into dust for anybody that I potentially misled while I was a Protestant. But that was the purpose of me creating the channel. I was kind of called in, hey, please, like, come join the fight because we're losing horribly. And now it's gotten even worse. I can't think of anybody who actually does debates anymore. I can't think of a single Protestant channel that does debates anymore. Can you?
Um, not not ones that actually focus on debate. There's guys that get invited to debate channels.
Right.
Yeah, Gavin. I was actually, this is one of my questions for you. I was going to ask, like, who do you think in the Protestant world, for as far as apologists go, has the kind of the strongest cases against orthodoxy? That Gavin was on the top of my list. I think that he at least came up with a unique approach when he did that whole thing about icons being like this fourth century innovation, or icon veneration rather. That was, I think, the most unique approach that I saw. That was the most honest, at least. Like, even though he's wrong, it was at least the most honest. Like, he wasn't doing all this low tier TikTok prot slop stuff where it's like icon, like venerating icons is idolatry. Maybe he thinks that. I don't know, but he at least doesn't argue that. That low tier. So,
Well, he has said that in shows before. He says that he thinks
okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's ultimately why they're doing that. Like, they're even talking about that. They think that it's, at the very least heretical.
I think at the beginning of Gavin Ortland's show, he was probably the forerunner. He probably still is. There's just nobody else.
Yeah.
The guys that are actually doing the debates are not doing good. NeedGod.net's getting slaughtered. A Messenger of Truth doesn't do debates. It's basically guys like that. It's the lower tier, like slop apologetics accounts. Those are the guys that are going out. The guys who are trying to be a little more thoughtful either have extremely small channels and are irrelevant, and they're kind of like more. They're doing the whole Dunning Kruger thing where they're more confident than intelligent. But Gavin's a nice guy. I think eventually, with enough prayer, with enough people talking to him in the background, maybe he might change his mind. I've done shows with Gavin. I did stuff with events with him when I was just on Discord and I didn't even have YouTube. So I knew him before I was even on YouTube. So I don't know. I think some people will say Gavin puts on like a persona, like a nice guy persona. That's just how he is. He's just a nice guy. That's how he actually talks. That's how he actually acts. So yeah, I think he's genuine to an extent, but I also think he's being intellectually dishonest with himself on some issues because I can tell from the start some of the arguments that he makes. Now, when he reiterates them with a little pause, um, as if he's not quite sure he actually believes what he's saying anymore. For instance, with the icon veneration thing, I know he's been corrected on the dating on that, but he'll still kind of repeat some of those same talking points. Notice for the last year or two, none of his arguments are new. He's repeating
Yeah.
all of the same arguments that he made that got him popular to begin with, and he's just diving into them deeper. Now he's doing more like culture war stuff, right? Yeah, the other Paul really wants to carry the banner. He's never going to. I other Paul, unfortunately, well, I don't know. This was the thing that he was known for back in the day, was losing debates. That's how he got popular, was by losing debates. He went on Pints with Aquinas, Matt Fradd's show, and he debated, who's that redneck Roman Catholic guy? You know what I'm talking about? Jimmy Akin. He
Yeah.
debated Jimmy Akin and got smoked to the freaking floor. It wasn't even close. It was a blowout
Is that
debate.
the sola scriptura debate?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got destroyed. It was
Yeah.
awful. And they did a whole after show where Matt Fradd was like, dude, it was like you were a gorilla beating a baby. Like he was not prepared at all. That's how other Paul kind of got his start, was getting destroyed in debates. But he's one of those individuals who, he's a nice guy. He's a nice enough guy. He's funny, but he has this whole Dunning-Kruger effect thing going on. Like he did a response video to a conversational episode I had with Jay and Alex Soren, where it was like the Orthodox Avengers, and we're just kind of talking, spitballing about Protestantism and things like this. He did like a debunk video, and his first point was Anglicanism isn't actually a schism because we don't consider ourselves schismatic. That was his first point. So
Yeah.
he's a pseudo intellectual, and nobody outside of the people that are just there to mindlessly cheerlead actually buys the arguments that he's putting forth. He's not winning over people from the Orthodox position by making those arguments. He's only retaining maybe some of the people who are already in his camp, right? This is like he, if he were to make an argument that Anglicans are actually the Catholic Church or something. Like, who are you really convincing with that slop? Just people who are already Anglican, right? Like that's it. You're not convincing anybody to come over
Yeah.
to your side. So the problem with that then is, since they're not convincing anybody, his channel's not actually going to grow unless he becomes a LOL cow like needgod.net or a messenger of truth.
Yeah. And who's that other guy? I just started seeing this guy on my feed. He goes by like Bible in Context. He also won't debate either. He's been getting, I don't know what goes on TikTok, but I mean, I guess these are all TikTok slop apologists that
Yeah.
just do video reaction. You know, they just react to clips of each other and they don't actually engage in debate. And I feel like that's what's going on with a lot of these guys. I mean, I'll at least give Need God credit for doing open panels, even though they're insanely controlled. Like I would never, if I were an apologist, I wouldn't go on his panel because it's so, he's got it controlled so well. You know, like I've seen other guys go on there and he's like, he knows exactly how to divert, and you know he'll kick them off or whatever when it's like, you know, not going in his direction.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
call in debates are easy to do that with, to be honest. Like you could do that even if you're not a good debater, as long as you're good with
yeah,
rhetoric.
yeah,
Need God is okay at rhetoric. He's okay. I mean, he knows how to filibuster. He knows how to do the whole piety signaling thing. But
yeah,
the reason that these guys get big on TikTok, the ones that don't do open panels, I think Need God might be the only one that does open panels like that is actually somewhat big. I mean, you've got smaller channels. Like there's this guy that's, what is his name? Christian, not Prince, Christian King. He's got like
oh,
2,000
I've seen that.
subscribers.
Yeah. Oh,
That
that channel is
is
it,
trash.
oh, it's so cringe. It's stream slop. It's like he's got all these
Yeah.
sound effects. Yeah, it's every stream he does is like it's actually kind of hilarious. Like every stream he does is like exposing Catholic and Orthodox false teachings or whatever. And then you go and it's an open panel of prots just arguing with each other over basic doctrines. And they've got like actual heretics up there, like Seventh-day Adventists. And they're like, it's hilarious. Like they can't even agree on what, you know, what they believe. And they're trying to debunk all the, like, you know, ancient Christianity.
You were
Yeah.
asking about that guy, Bible in Context. Well,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
reason these guys get big on TikTok is because TikTok's algorithm is like the polar opposite of YouTube. TikTok does well if people react to your content, whether it's good or bad. There's no dislike button on there.
Huh.
So if people react to your content, if they share it, if they share it even off-site, it can tell. If they share it and copy your link, it will boost your views. If they repost it, if they do a response to it, it boosts your views on that platform. So people who are more retarded get pushed to the top because people make more response videos to the people who have bad arguments that are very low-hanging fruit. Needgod.net is one of those types of people. A Messenger of Truth, Bible in Context, they're all the same type of LOL
Yeah.
cow response bait channels, because they will make their arguments, I think almost on purpose, to have gaps in them so that people can react to it. Because if your argument's too airtight, nobody's going to want to react to it. They're going to want to ignore you. This is what's happening to Alex Soren right now. None of the Protestants want to react to his stuff or dive into debating him or whatever. And if they do, they cover something completely different. They don't even cover the content of the video, right? So in a way, what these guys are doing from a numbers perspective is actually smart. This is why Taco Talk has hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok, is because it's response bait.
Yeah.
They're turning themselves into LOL cows on purpose.
Yeah, it's all, yeah, you're right. It just rewards drama, basically. That's what it is. And so yeah, it's all clip farming and stuff. I want to get to a few super chats that came in. Let's see. We got what's this? ID bro, what's up, man? Cheers, welcome, Cleave. When are you joining the book club? I bet it is nice not having the stress of dicing up a sermon every week. He's talking about my book club. Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly miss preaching. I miss doing ministry as a Protestant pastor. I do miss it. I miss mentoring people, being involved in people's lives to that extent. It is something that I miss greatly. But who knows? Maybe there is something like that for me in the future. I don't know. Discerning, praying, and I'm going to be patient. So.
We got 5 from Cool Dude. Cleave was right about spiritual warfare ramping up as you enter the church. Oh, yeah. I had a particularly bizarre instance happen today. Glad I had a warning. Yeah, that's very common. It happened to me. I mean, almost every convert I talk to that's in the process of entering the church, they deal with a lot of noticeably bizarre spiritual demonic attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, saying discerning, not discerning becoming a Protestant pastor, but maybe some clerical role in the future, like a priest, I don't know. Discerning, praying on that. Not talking about going back to being a Protestant pastor, if that's unclear.
Yeah.
But yeah, the spiritual warfare thing. Yeah, I think that is very true. I mean, this Lent, right before Lent started, my entire master bedroom flooded for like the 3rd time. So yeah, I mean, this seems to happen. This happened right when I made the announcement video that I was journeying into the Orthodox Church, and it happened again now. Originally, it was a washer that flooded it because the sensor was bad. Now it was something completely different. It was a pipe that bust outside and sprayed through the stucco. So, I mean, it's just like back-to-back craziness. A buddy of mine who was inquiring at the same time that I began inquiring, he called me at like 7 a.m. in the morning. He said he was up all night because as he was praying, there was like a presence behind him and he was like paralyzed in place. He had to pray the entire night. So I hear things like this often from people entering into the church, and this time of Lent, the demons are crazy and active. So
yeah, I was going to say it doesn't stop either. Like what you're noticing is the spiritual warfare. Like you're just becoming, at least this is what I think. You're just becoming more aware of what's been going on. I mean, obviously it ramps up as you enter the church. The demons don't want you to enter the church or anywhere near the sacraments. So that just continues like throughout your Orthodox life, like with, almost every week it happens in all different ways. I couldn't even name, but, just keeping you away from the Eucharist, keeping you from confession, all kinds of stuff that you don't take it for granted that that's going to kind of like calm down in any way once you are chrismated, like it just continues in different ways.
Somebody had mentioned Anglican aesthetics in the chat. I will say this about him. Anglican and aesthetics he's very boring to watch, but he's very intelligent. Anglican aesthetics is probably the smartest Protestant YouTuber out there right now, but he's also extremely immature. If you get under his skin, like one thing that you'll notice with many of the Anglicans is they're very insecure about their own position. So they cover it up with scholasticism. and they invent distinctions that don't exist. They'll invent them over and over and over again. So when they lose one of their own, they take it very personally. Even if it's not an Anglican, it's somebody that they've worked with in the past. They take it very personally. For instance, other Paul and Anglican aesthetics, those two probably reacted the absolute worst to my conversion. Oh, and who's the other guy? Barely Protestant. Those three, all Anglicans, reacted the absolute worst to my conversion announcement. They all made videos. Barely Protestant was texting me while the video was still premiering, saying I was lying about his faith because I said the ACNA is the conservative Anglican branch. He says, actually, it's the Continuum. It's my schismatic sect, not this other sect or whatever. It's more conservative. We're going to have a based competition. So he said I was a liar, and he made this whole like freaking crazy schizo rant. And this was a guy that like I've met and I've had lunch with, like we've like met IRL and things like this, but he had like a huge crash out when I converted. It's because they're very insecure of their own position. So when they see people leaving Protestantism, they get very upset. They take it as a personal offense, especially when you don't become Anglican because you see Anglicanism as a dead end or it's intellectually dishonest. The problem with Anglicanism isn't that they don't believe certain things. It's that they can believe just about anything. It's not really too bound. They're bound by the articles. That's about it. And some of them aren't even really bound by the articles. Like, for instance, you'll have some Anglicans who venerate icons, and that's literally against the articles. Like you can't do that. Also, they'll say they hold to the ecumenical councils, but in practice, they actually don't. For instance, many of them will say Coptics are okay. The articles say they hold to the anathemas. The articles say they hold to the anathemas. They don't in practice, though. For instance, I was talking to one Anglican gentleman. Who's the guy? From Lore Lodge. I was talking to him, and I asked him, do you think the Copts are condemned heretics? And he said, no, I give them a pass. They're they've suffered a lot. They've, ABC 1, 2, 3. I was like, okay, so then you don't actually hold to the ecumenical councils, is what I'm saying. Like, you're saying you don't hold to the anathemas. You say they're okay, even though they're anathematized. So they get upset when people don't find their position intellectually viable and they lash out. Barely Protestant made that one response video. Other Paul's videos about me have been absolutely disgusting. The way that he's reacted. The first video he did was nasty. I've tried to be friendly with him after that, but he came back, and this other video was just as disgusting, to be honest. The way that he was attacking was like, I typically don't care. Response videos are response videos, but he's just like, oh, you're a total retard. Like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, you were asking me for advice about apologetics a couple of months ago. You know what I mean? The same guys that were like, oh, you're the #1 Protestant apologist. Like, we look up to you. Please have me on your show, so on and so forth, are the same guys that are like, he never knew what Protestantism even was. You know what I mean? Like, just complete dishonesty.
I've never even heard of those guys that you just named. I think I've seen other Paul before on one video you said, but yeah, I don't even know most of these guys. But I can't imagine dealing with what you dealt with in a very public conversion, being one of the top Protestant apologists. Being on all these big shows. You're on Ruslan. You're like talking to all these guys about Orthodoxy. I think weren't you on that show like specifically talking about anti-Orthodox stuff, right?
Who, Ruslan?
Yeah, on Ruslan.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and it's just another testament to how like this is unavoidable. Like everyone's got to talk about Orthodoxy now. But yeah, I can't imagine having to deal with that and seeing all these reaction videos. And it's like, what do I react back to them? Like what, it's like probably a lot of holding your tongue, it's like, yeah.
Well, I didn't react to any of them on purpose. Cause
that's good.
I knew it was going to be like that just because of how embedded I was with a lot of these different people. I knew they were going to take it very hard. Other Paul's initial video was like, why didn't he ask me? Why didn't he ask me about these things or whatever? I'm like, dude, I was the one giving you advice. I'm like I don't know, dude. Yeah, maybe because every debate you've ever been in, you've lost horrifically, and you don't know what you're talking about a lot of this stuff. But you just pray for these people. I knew it was going to be tough when I made the announcement. That's why I don't know. I just wanted to rip the Band-Aid. I came to the conclusion that as soon as I was fully convinced, I was going to go ahead and make the announcement. And that made a lot of people mad because they were like, "Oh, you should have made a video um, explaining what you weren't fully convinced of before you were fully convinced." Like, what are you talking about? Like, as soon as I was fully convinced, I made the announcement. It was done. But I knew it was going to be like that. But I was lucky and very blessed to have Father Peter Heers there to help guide that whole transitionary period. Guys like Orthodox Luigi, guys like Christian Mario. I would talk to them, and they really helped in that whole process there. I'll say the first day was tough, just because some of the dudes that you actually consider friends, right, come out and just say on a dime without even talking to you. It's like immediately you're the enemy. You're scum of my scum on the bottom of my shoe. Like, I considered Sean Luke a friend, and the first video that he put out was Cleave converted because he smelled incense that said that we're all damned to hell by the Theotokos. That was his like retarded video that he put out. Very immature. Again, extremely intelligent guy, but very, very sensitive and immature. So I knew this was going to happen. I think it was a good thing that it happened. Like, I needed a little gut check. I needed a little humility, and I think it was a necessary thing to go through. But also, I've always received tons of response videos. It was nothing new. Maybe to that extent, it was really big. People were like doxing my the church that I served at. They were like going through and like showing pictures of all the elders on lives and stuff. And they were I've had some weird like security things that have happened because of that. That's unfortunate. I don't like that. Um but I think it was a necessary thing to go through. Could I have probably handled it in a better way? I'm sure there's some way I could have handled it better. Maybe I could have done the Bryce Crawford thing, where you're like inviting people on and like, I'm going on a journey to like figure things out or whatever. But that's kind of like, I kind of done that now. I'm like, well, I've made the decision. Now I'm going to invite these people on to teach. you know,
We got one more here from H. Rossi. Thank you for the 5. Great Lent, brothers. Great Lent to you too. To address what you're discussing right now, need testosterone is the only prot slop apologist I see on my timeline, to be honest. Yeah, me too. I Most of those guys had, I think, blocked me a while ago. I know, like that Lizzie. I don't see her stuff anymore because she blocked me a long time ago. Um, I wouldn't consider her an apologist, but these people who kind of like obsess over Catholicism and Orthodoxy all the time. Yeah, it's good if you consider it a blessing if you're not seeing this stuff on your timeline.
I
Because
don't
it's
mind it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't mind it.
I personally find that I have a lot of difficulty letting go certain things, like like, especially when it comes to slander of the Theotokos. That gets really difficult for me to not engage with.
Sure.
And that's probably, maybe that's like a new convert thing or so. I don't know. I have no idea, but I get really offended by that. Um,
Well, yeah, that was like when I was a Protestant and I had that interaction with Indiana Brunner. And what did I say? I took the video down because the way that it came across was bad, and he was trying to slander me and say that I was like going to beat him up or something, which is not what I said. I said if you because it was over the image of the Theotokos on the bottom of the shoe, and he said, "Oop, I stepped in crap." Right, that was the meme that he
yes, yeah,
posted.
I saw that.
So I had a discussion with him, and I said at the end of it, I said, "Look, like, can you not understand that, like, if I took a picture of your mom and I, like, spat on it, like, that would make you upset?" He's like, "No, it's just a picture. That wouldn't make me mad." I'm like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Well, then you're not a man." I said, "'Cause if you were to take a picture of my mom and put it on the bottom of your shoe and say that it's crap, I'm a normal guy. I might beat you up." And he tried to take that out of he tried to take that out of context and say that I was, like, threatening him or something. I'm
He's
like,
yeah, he's
that's
such a
not.
weasel, that kid. I got into a like 2 to 3 day long exchange with him over something about the icons because I said something similar actually, and I asked him. It's obviously a hypothetical, but I was like, it's funny because he kind of like failed the breakfast question with this because it's like he didn't identify that it was a hypothetical, and I asked him, if somebody, I forget how I phrase it, but it's like, would you spit on an icon of Christ?
Right. Yep.
And the point to that is like, if you say like it's kind of it's a yes or no question first of all, and they won't ever answer it as a yes or no because they know exactly what it implies. Because if they say no, they're saying that they're admitting that the icon is tied to something symbolic that they are disrespecting what it represents by
Yeah.
spitting on it. And if they say they would, then they sound like demonic blasphemers. So they don't answer this question. And his way of dodging it was saying like, I just don't spit. I don't make a habit. I'm not a child. I don't make a habit of spitting on things for no reason. Like, it's like, dude, you just, first of all, you failed the breakfast question. Literally. That's like,
Right.
you just made it into this literal thing. And I'm not asking you if you have a spitting habit. It's like a hypothetical, it's like, it's
Well,
a
I'm not a
hypothetical.
cheater, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, so he couldn't even, engage with it honestly, but,
Yeah. What if, there you go. That's a good comment. What if I spit on a King James Bible, King James Version Bible?
yeah, I mean, you could literally apply the same to the Bible because they kind of regard the Bible almost like as an icon, which it is
Well,
in a
bro,
sense.
some of these evangelical churches, non-denoms, will like kick the Bible like a football for their Super Bowl
I've
thing.
seen that. Yeah,
What a freaking mess.
yeah.
But one thing I will say this about Indiana, after that discussion that we had, he has softened. He has softened his position, and he's not so aggressive and abrasive anymore. He does still kind of do that, but I will say I'm honestly, after how, like, we had to hash things out in the background. One person that actually helped us hash things out in the background and resolve, because he was like, I'm gonna destroy you. I'm gonna tell people that you are like calling for violence. He did this thing where some Orthodox guy sent him a DM. It was an anon. It probably wasn't even an Orthodox guy. He just said he was. Sent him a DM saying, I'm gonna kill you, right? And he said, look, Cleave said that if I, stepped on an image of his mom or something, he would beat me up. So therefore, Cleave called for my death. That's what he was trying to do. So I was like, dude, we got to like work this out somehow because this is like schizo insanity. You know who helped in that conversation? Gavin Ortland. Gavin Ortland helped in that conversation in the background. He was the cooler head. So when I say that he's a genuine guy, he's an actual genuine guy. He actually cares.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, he was invited to that Orthodox conference, right? So it seems like he at least gets along with Orthodox clergy. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I was actually surprised to see that, but that's a whole other thing. But
Well, what I was trying to say was after that, India's really softened his approach because he realizes this whole like hyper aggressive, like schizoid accusation, like nonsense is not good spiritually or otherwise.
yeah, we got $20. Thank you, Green Emperor, for the 20. Do you think prots need to talk more with EO people? I honestly do not think they have sat down with EO. For example, I asked Dr. Cooper if he had heard of Dr. Bradshaw, and he said no. This shocked me since uh, Dr. Cooper wrote on theosis. Yeah, I just covered that. I think I posted this in a tweet in a book I'm reading about the trend of mysticism during the Reformation, and how I think we talked about this on your when I was on your show, how Luther had been perceived as this anti-mystical figure who rejected, any kind of mysticism, any kind of occultism, and recent scholarship found that he was actually a bit more mystic than we previously thought. He was more of a mystic than we thought. And he did write on theosis. That's true. I found in that book that he kind of held to this. It's not quite the same as Eastern Orthodox theosis, but he did believe that there was like an ongoing process of becoming more like God to a degree, like through the sacraments, I believe. But yeah, so I do, but yeah, I'll let you answer that question if you think we need to be talking with more prots.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
agree.
mean,
Yeah,
we do it a bunch anyway. But
yeah,
as far as Jordan Cooper goes, Jordan Cooper, he was one that was really crashing out when I did my announcement video. I don't know if you saw that. I was going to go on his show as a Protestant, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll have you on, and we'll talk about ABC 123." After I made the announcement that I was journeying into Orthodoxy, he made a video saying um, that I was converting for the clicks, for money, that I was a grifter, that we should be careful about who we listen to online, so on and so forth. He said that I was an unqualified teacher, even though I was an ordained Protestant pastor. He then said only people who are ordained Protestant pastors should be able to teach online. He had this whole spiel where he crashed out, and I responded to it, and I was like, what are you talking about? I was going to go on your show. Where were these accusations before then? I mean, you're just completely fine with it when I was slated to go on your show, but it's only after when I say that I'm journeying into Orthodoxy, then you say I'm a grifter, I'm converting for the money, I'm a false teacher, I'm unqualified, so on and so forth. But you were going to have me on your show to teach. It's this. It's a
it wouldn't be a good move to convert to Orthodoxy just to grift, because there's a lot. It's a lot smaller than
yeah.
Protestant. You get a much bigger audience as a Protestant.
That's true. Yeah, well, that's the one thing. I mean, that's the one accusation they really can't levy against me because, as a Protestant, my options were much more open, and I was going on big name shows. I was going on Ruslan. I was going on Gavin Ortland's channel. It's a six figure channel. I was going to go. I was going to try to get on what's his name, the dude that was doing the Christian Avengers or whatever. Janko's show, George
Oh yeah,
Janko. I was going to try to do that. I had, other opportunity. I had Wes Huff in my DMs, and we were trying to set something up. So I mean, yeah, if I would have remained Protestant, I would have probably made a lot more money. Things would have been easier. I would have still had a paycheck from my church. Things would have been a lot easier as a Protestant. So, I mean, this is really the freaking hard road. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Orthodox audience is much more niche. We all kind of share an audience with one another. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And it's we can't be unless you're going to be an ecumenist. Like if you're an ecumenist, then you could be a grifter. Like because then you could be like Roots of Orthodoxy or like Sam Shimon or whatever, and just promote this kind of like fake modernist apostolic churches. We're just going to be friends with the apostolic churches. If you're like some kind of ecumenist slop account, then yeah, then you'll probably have the same prospects as as a Protestant YouTuber. But the people who are actually talking about the genuine faith, it's not that's not the case. You do kind of box yourself in. So then you have to kind of expand into things like geopolitics and other things like that to have some overlap. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a different ball game for sure. Um, if it was for the money, the conversion would have been to Roman Catholicism because that's where the politics is at right now. You get a lot of politicians converting to Catholicism. They are Roman Catholicism. They have like their own like clubs or whatever. They all support each other to an extent financially.
you
Uh,
could work up to the Daily Wire.
yeah, you get on the Daily Wire, you could get the
Yeah,
Jewish money. I
yeah,
could get Ben Shapiro's dollars, his goy bucks sent right to my pocket. So
yep. Um, let's see what else we have here. There's some more I wanted to comment on, but I want to make sure I'm getting through the super chats. I appreciate all your support, guys. Okay, we got another one from Nick Bucci. Thank you for the $2. W incense, yes, W incense indeed.
based,
There'll be plenty
let's
of
spam W incense in the chat, everybody right now. W incense.
spam
Show
and
out. We're on.
spam incense into your nose because it's the Lenten season, and there's probably no better opportunity to be sniffing incense consistently throughout the Lenten season than there is now.
That's right.
Um, so yeah, I'm speaking to myself too. I need to be going to more of the services. There's been services going on all week this week during this Canon of St. Andrew, and we've got many more. This is. Are you excited at all for your first Pascha? It's Pascha's incredible. This is like the whole calendar is kind of crescendos into Pascha. It's really an amazing experience.
Yeah, man, it's exciting.
Yeah,
I'm just happy to be participating in the life of the church.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, my
but
first Pascha, I was just like blown away, and that's when I realized like this is just the beginning. Like this is my first one. If this is every year, I do this every year. This is amazing. Like this is what it's all about. Pascha is what it's all about. Like it makes you really. I don't want to use the word proud, but like it gives you this sense of like I'm so humbled to be Orthodox. Like this is just really yeah, it's incredible. You're going to want to invite all your friends. It's really an amazing experience.
yeah.
Um, Another $10 from H. Brossi. Check out the Dyer debate with Bruner when you can, Anthony. I know Ben has already seen it. He made him audibly whimper at one point when pressing him on church history. I actually have heard that debate. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, that was a good debate.
Did you see Dyer on Tim Pool's show?
Yeah, I saw it on my feed and I listened to it for a little bit. Uh, I don't think Tim Pool understands a transcendental argument. I think that's like it. Yeah, it really gets frustrating for me to listen to those when the opponent clearly doesn't understand the transcendental argument and can't engage with it. It just
Yep.
gets really frustrating, and then they get frustrated that they don't understand that high level kind of debate. It's like they start to get angry almost at themselves.
Well, dude, when I was a Protestant, I would do a Uno reverse transcendental argument when I debated Orthodox, but I almost don't even want to run that argument back because it did make some
Oh,
people stumble.
oh,
So I'd rather the Protestants not have that in their
yeah,
weapon, their
yeah.
their deck
Yeah,
of
leave
cards.
them to the low tier, slop arguments.
I think that was I think I don't know if this is a prideful thought, but it's one that causes me to thank God that he didn't destroy me like a bug. But I think I don't know. I look around the Protestant landscape on YouTube, and people are not making new arguments. These are all old. These are all played out arguments. Nobody's saying anything new. It's all well, it's subjective. It's my opinion. It's this. It's that. Nobody's laying out. Nobody's actually dealing with the actual objections. Gavin Ortland tries to, but then what he does is he just relies on kind of like this argument from being incredulous. You know what I mean? It's like, well, do you really think? Like, do you really think? Like, this one church father says this. So, do you really think this was universal? Like, that's kind of the thing. It's like I have one guy that maybe kind of, sort of says something. And then I just say, well, then that shows that this actually isn't an apostolic practice because this one guy says ABC 123. The rest of them aren't really even making arguments to that extent. But when I was a Protestant apologist, I was making arguments from freaking canon law. I was making arguments from epistemology. I would get people after I made my announcement video. I had people in my DMs daily, 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 daily telling me that I was the one Protestant apologist that was making them stumble, and I was the reason they had not become Orthodox yet, which would make me freaking tear up, dude. I'm like, God, thank you for not freaking killing me because I deserve death for that. You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe it got to a point where, I don't know, I was doing some damage to people. So the Theotokos said, stop being an idiot and grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and drug me aside, which glory to God for that.
Hmm.
That's just a thought that rattles in my head sometimes. It just makes me feel like, I don't know, like it's confirmation of God's grace. It's confirmation of the power of not only prayer, but the love of God for his church and his people. Um, I don't know, just a thought that I think
Yeah.
about sometimes.
Yeah, it's one of the main things I see the Protestant apologists arguing is they have a lot of trouble with our view of the exclusivity of the church. I suppose this also applies to the Catholics too.
Sure.
Um, and they have like they often will critique the Orthodox for our anathemas, which is kind of funny because it's like, why do you care about our anathemas? Like they only apply to Orthodox people in the church. Like that's like the anathemas apply to, as far as I understand, they apply to people like within the church. Like you can't be anathematized.
Mm,
Um, well,
that's
it's anathematizing like beliefs too, right? Like so.
Yeah, I was going
It,
to say that's not necessarily true because in the Sunday of Orthodoxy that's coming up, you're going to hear anathemas against atheism. So,
yeah, yeah, but
like,
it's
it's not
yeah,
like an atheist within the church. It's concepts, it's false teachings, right? So it's defining the boundaries of the church, right?
yeah,
So, um, yeah, I mean that was always something that I pushed back on as a Protestant because it's in I think it's an inconsistent statement to say that they only apply to those within the church. It's the thing that sets the boundaries of it. Um, Now, one thing that I will say is that if you reject the ideas of anathemas to begin with, this is a kill shot for your own position because then you're admitting that you don't have the same faith of the Christians at the time of the Council of Nicaea.
yeah, yeah. Well, and so what I was going to say is that they almost like Protestants kind of have their own version of anathemas. They're just not they don't have the institutional application of them.
Right.
So like the whole thing, like what what we're talking about here with all these apologists trying to maintain their people in within Protestantism to confirm and affirm their Protestantism is so that they don't quote anathematize into Orthodoxy or Catholicism, into some kind of quote false t- idea of Christianity, and so that kind of presupposes that there's this concept of like those are anathema beliefs, like for
Well, sure.
example,
Like
yeah.
if they call you an idolater, yeah, it would be like
Well, I'm
you're basically
thinking more like what look at Need God, what someone called them Need testosterone,
works-based
right?
salvation.
Yeah, like that is a for him a dogmatic belief. You have to believe that salvation like you're only saved if you confirm sola fide.
Mhm.
If you have to confirm sola fide or else you're not saved. So like you could be a pious Christian, um, even not Orthodox or whatever. Like even you could be a Protestant and feel like there's some level of like synergistic salvation, and that's not good enough because you're not fully quote trusting in Jesus alone for your salvation. And so he's turned that. And I know this is like a an anecdotal example, but the point is like these people that criticize our our anathemas, they're doing the same with their like subjective beliefs. Like they're just they're making that into an anathema thing. If you don't believe this, you're not really saved.
Yeah, instead of having the epistemology of the fathers, they have their own epistemology, which is subjective. Like
Yeah,
it's what is it based off of? Well, it's based off of my own opinion or the teaching of my particular individual church. Because oftentimes it's not even the denomination that'll make those boundaries. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I completely agree. They have the same exact take. That was Alex Soren's um or the same exact type of idea. It's just subjective. That was Alex Soren's critique of Gavin, because Gavin said that Orthodox are idolaters for venerating icons, yet he then attacked us for our exclusivity claims. So I was like, wait a minute. Aren't you saying that this is like a salvific issue? You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it gets into like I wouldn't like in an honest way like argue that it's like actual universalism, but it almost within Christianity becomes like a form of universalism, to not take a stance where you have these clearly defined boundaries where if you don't meet this criteria, you're outside the church. Like what you're saying is like that, they do that, but it applies to kind of the individual level. But it gets into like some really shaky stuff where it's like, how do you even define what that is? Like, this is why they're so obsessed with asking what constitutes salvation. Like, how is one saved?
Right.
Like, this is why they're obsessed with that question. Explain how we're saved. And then they think it's a gotcha when we say, well, it's actually a little bit more complicated than this magical thing happens. And when you say, I invite Jesus into my heart, and then you're just saved, like, kind of in this like invisible transformation that occurs on the spot. There's a little bit more to it. Like they get, if you believe that there's more to it, then it's like, whoa, this is what they press us on. Like they want us to admit
Well,
that.
they
Yeah.
want you to give they want you to give like a one sentence answer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when they ask, I just say theosis.
Yeah.
What is the gospel? Theosis. Done. That's it.
Oh, you mean the gospel is that man can become God? That's Gnostic. They'll say, I don't know. I don't even think they say that's Gnostic. There's that one. Did you see that one Baptist preacher? That was he did the whole thing on theosis. That was his big gotcha. He's like, see, these people believe that man can become God. Like this
Yeah,
is demonic. Yeah,
that was that reformed guy. What
yeah.
is his name?
I think he was a.
Matthew something?
Yeah, I think he was a. I was he IBF or something. I think he was an independent
He was
fundamentalist.
IBS.
Yeah, IBS. Yeah, yeah. We did it. I covered him on the stream. I think that'll probably be one of the only times I do that. It's just getting real. It's tiring. It's like it's the same stuff. Like you can just go watch that video, and it's like you'll see all of the Protestant arguments in that one thing.
I forget that guy's name. It was I don't think he was an IFB. He's a
It was
Reformed
like
Baptist.
Matt. Yeah, it was Matt something.
I
Pastor
I, I
Pastor
responded to
Matthew.
him recently with Father Ron and Luigi. Luigi or Louis. I was on. It was on the Luigi stream. We were reacting to him, Need God, and a couple of other people. And Father Ron popped in. I forget his name though, but yeah, his arguments were
Yeah.
terrible. They were all the same.
Yeah, yeah. He was calling icons baseball cards and stuff. Yeah, it's just really low tier. And the funny thing is, that was like a sermon. Like he was preaching that from the pulpit. Like this is what I mean. These guys are preaching about, like they're doing entire polemics against orthodoxy from the pulpit. Like on Sunday morning, their congregation is going to church, and what they're hearing from the pulpit is a polemic against ancient Christianity.
Well,
And
you know,
it's like,
I think that's become necessary at this point for them, to be honest.
well, yeah, because they're
Is that
losing their congregation.
yeah.
Their congregation is leaving, and this is my whole point to this stream. Like this is why I titled the stream this way, because it's like the more attention they bring to it, like they're almost like shooting themselves in the foot. It's like they're just talking about it more and making people want to look into it. Probably most of their congregation they'll be able to maintain them, but they're just still drawing attention to it. And then the more people look into it, like that guy's channel, he got bombarded. He had to turn off his replies. Like he was getting his comment section was brutal.
Yeah.
Like you almost don't even need to respond to these videos because the comment sections just tear them apart. And then you can see like the fact that they're hiding comments. It's like, dude, this is so dishonest. Like you won't even engage with this, like that guy won't debate. He won't engage with comments. Like it's just really bad faith stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's good. Well, it's not good. It is probably beneficial for us that the average pastor, Baptist pastor, Presbyterian pastor, all of these people, if they do engage with us, it probably helps us more than does harm, to be
Yeah.
honest. I haven't seen anybody make any solid points other than some of the arguments that I put forth and maybe some of Gavin Ortland's stuff. But I don't think any of Gavin Ortland's stuff is really winning people away from orthodoxy. What I will see sometimes is a Roman Catholic will destabilize an Orthodox or something, or an Orthodox would destabilize a Roman Catholic and vice versa. Because sometimes you'll have individuals who are like habitual church hoppers because they're looking at conversion as some kind of magic pill for their spiritual dryness. And it's not going to be that. Things are going to get harder for you when you become Orthodox. You're going to have a season of dryness. You're going to feel spiritually dry. You're going to be attacked by demons. It's going to get hard. It's not going to feel good. Converting to Orthodoxy doesn't feel good. It feels pretty freaking bad sometimes, to be honest.
Yeah.
So you're going to have those people convert, and then they're like, wait a minute, this wasn't the magic pill I thought it was going to be. So they try swapping back and forth. They'll go to Rome. They'll go to the Copts. They'll go and do ABC 1, 2, 3. And I think that's to be expected, especially with people who were catechumens or something and they fell away. Like that's to be expected. That's why the catechumen process is there to see if you're serious as well as to develop you, which is beneficial. It's not just like you can say I'm Orthodox and now all of a sudden you're Orthodox.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good that, we generally, I mean, I know that people slip under the radar, but that we generally have this principle of, especially if you're a somewhat public figure, that you don't engage in apologetics or debating orthodoxy, especially like publicly. And we can see why that is applied in a very real sense in our circles, because these Protestants are these apologists that we're talking about specifically. A lot of them, that what they're learning about orthodoxy is from watching videos. They're not reading they're not reading Orthodox literature. They're not reading the patristics. They're not reading our saints and what they say. They're specifically critiquing what YouTube Orthodox people say, and so we have this tremendous responsibility, because everything we say is going to be
Right.
criticized as if this is what the entire Orthodox Church believes, like
Oh yeah.
verbatim.
Oh yeah.
Whatever way you present whatever you're saying, that's what I even deal with this, and I'm not an apologist. When I talk about stuff that's like not dogmatic, like in the conspiracy world, when I talk about certain stuff like with involving cosmology, because I believe in like kind of alternative cosmology, and people are like, oh, well, that's like, they think that that's the Orthodox thing. Like all these Orthodox people are schizos. Like they think that NASA is like satanic. And it's like, dude, we're individuals. We're allowed to hold opinions. Like they're not outside of because they don't know what the dogma is. So like they just apply everything that an Orthodox person believes to Orthodox dogma.
I like that meme where it's like become Orthodox. So we have Alex Jones' son, guy
Yeah.
that goes on Alex Jones' show.
Yeah.
Saints that talk like Alex Jones has got Father Seraphim Rose. And I love that meme.
Yeah.
It's so funny. But about like the criticism piece, yeah, I think the not engaging in debates thing. I mean, that's something that I took upon myself pretty much instantly. I love doing debates, dude. I love rhetoric. I love engaging in debate. I love doing all of that kind of stuff. But intentionally, I'm not doing debates at this moment until I have a blessing to engage in such. So right now, all I'm doing is like interviews, and I'll do reaction streams with people and news.
Yeah.
So I've kind of had to shift the approach. Honestly, sometimes it gets boring because I love debates. But I think it's necessary. And yeah, you're right. The Orthodox community is pretty good at self-regulating a lot of that stuff. I think a lot of it though, sometimes we have a little too much internal criticism, I think we're starting to get this kind of backbiting culture, especially online, where you'll have maybe some Orthodox figures that will backbite guys like Jay constantly, and they'll make their like culture just being like anti-Jay,
Yeah. Yeah.
anti-online people. I see this quite a bit on X. I think one of the reasons for it, I see it in the parish life too. This is starting to creep in. I think one of the reasons is, especially from converts, this usually comes from cradles are typically pretty chill. They don't, they're like, hey, I'm glad you're here. But I see this especially from converts, maybe converts that converted in like the 80s or 90s. But I think one of the reasons for this is it's very easy to fall into the passion of pride when you have come from this position of, well, I'm a Protestant and I kind of know everything that there is to know about Protestantism. And then I have kind of like, I've received this knowledge. Like, it's like I've seen through the smoke and mirrors, and now I've come out the other side and I'm Orthodox. That takes a lot for an individual to work through and get to that point, right? So those people probably know more than your average Protestant does. And I think sometimes that can lead to pridefulness and the temptation of falling into this passion, which I think shows itself rather. I don't even want to use that term because it's usually used for weird stuff. Shows itself in people in the form of criticizing others more often than building people up. So something that I've tried to be very intentional about is I don't really like to criticize other Orthodox. Like, I don't like to do that. I don't like to backbite. I don't like to talk bad about other Orthodox. Sometimes I might I got to hold myself back when like Ethan Wayne comes up or things like this. But like people will talk to me about like Father Evagrius and things like this, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I just don't. I don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? I'll talk about geopolitics stuff with Bartholomew making decisions and things like that. That's different. But talking about individuals, I'd rather be, especially for the guys that are not pushing ecumenism, right? I'd rather be their cheerleader than somebody who's going to critique them. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I'd rather cheer them on. Like Alex Soren, I see people that are Orthodox that are like, well, he's like a ticket lawyer. He's like this, he's like that. And I'm like, can you just shut up, dude? Like, be happy for your brothers and sisters. Like, why do you have to tear them down? You know what I mean? I'll have guys like I'll have Luigi on and they'll be like, didn't Luigi convert 2 years ago? Blah 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 blah. And it's just like it's this spirit of pride. It is this prideful arrogance. This I want to assert myself by tearing somebody else down because I have nothing else good to contribute to the conversation. One place that this actually shows itself quite often is with the Latinizers. Will you notice this?
Yeah.
Anybody who's not a Latinizer, they immediately hate and they will counter signal, and they don't care if it makes the Protestants look better. They don't care if it makes the Roman Catholics look better. They will say the exact opposite of whoever that individual is.
Yeah. Oh, those guys all have me blocked. Yeah, I don't get involved in that either. I think that's a smart move. I was, yeah, I've made efforts to avoid any kind of Orthodox infightings. I personally think that makes us look worse than, if a few of us have these kind of quote schizo views of things of the world. It's like, if you can't discern that really is not like there's no kind of like Orthodox official position on these things, and that's kind of like on you. But the infighting, I think, does kind of make us not look very good to outsiders. Um,
I think
but
people
yeah,
don't notice it. People don't notice it until you're there. I noticed it before, but that's because I pay attention to this stuff. I think a lot of times people don't even realize, you know, that that's even happening. Now they're starting to catch on. Now they're starting to get a little creative and use the Latinizer talking points against us. Who was it that did that? Canon and Creed recently. He did a video on PSA, um, and was using Latinizer talking points, which was actually something that I did when I was a Protestant. I didn't use Latinizer talking points, but I used true Orthodox talking points because I noticed
yeah.
their critiques and things like this. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a perfect guy, so obviously I fail at this, but I try not to be hypercritical of other Orthodox. Like, it's just, I don't know, it puts a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like it when people do that in person. I've had priests that have spoken bad about people, and it immediately just like puts a pit in my stomach. I don't like, for you and the Theotokos thing. That's like me and people speaking poorly about online
Oh
or
yeah.
figures. Like, it's, I don't know, it frustrates me. I don't care if it's about me. Like, I'm used to receiving criticism and feedback. I received it all the time as a Protestant. At one point in time, I had a reaction video every single day as a Protestant made
Well,
about
there's a respectful way to counter signal a priest. You could do it respectfully. Um, and I've seen people do it respectfully, but I've seen a lot of Orthodox people like it's like there's no way you would talk to a priest like that in person. There's no
right.
way.
Yeah,
It's just ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, and this is a good point too. Thaddeus here. Uh, I used to try to stop it, and it just makes it worse. Yeah, you can't even talk about it. Just don't talk about the drama. It's like that's what I figured out. It's like you can't even play peacemaker because then you're piety signaling, and then it just spirals. It's like then you've just brought yourself into the drama because you're talking about it. It's just best to avoid completely. Honestly, like let you know let it work itself out. They usually it doesn't last usually longer than like a week. This stuff. Um, let me get to a couple more super chats here. Thank you guys for all the support. Appreciate y'all
I,
being here.
yeah, I get the temptation to respond to it, but I don't know. At least for myself, it just especially the ones, it's when the ecumenists attack like normal Orthodox people. You know what I mean? Like, that is frustrating to me. Normally it's like people that will counter signal, like Father Peter Hears, Jay, Alex, Father Deacon Ananias, Father Moses, Luigi, so on and so forth, any of the online Orthodox apologists. I don't know. It's just it's annoying to me. Like, why don't you just be a cheerleader and be grateful that people are coming to the church and people are talking about Orthodoxy? One thing that Roman Catholicism does right which I don't normally talk about. One thing that Roman Catholicism does right, I think, in the modern age, is Leo will actually encourage online content creators to go out to talk about Roman Catholicism because they know even if somebody maybe even if somebody maybe isn't like 100%, they're still talking about it. People are being brought into the church, right? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a positive influence on whether or not people are coming in. Um, we unfortunately have a culture of wanting the exact opposite. It's like people want to protect their cool secret club that they found. And this is more of like a boomer generation thing. Is like I want to protect this secret club that I found in the '80s when I converted from the Episcopal Church when they went woke, and I don't want anybody else to find it because what if they come in with these, ideas or whatever. Um, and that's not the way that we should approach it. Luckily, we have hierarchs that are very wise and holy, like Metropolitan Saba, talking about the importance of apologetics, talking about the importance of engaging in dialogue online, talking about not hiding from the culture. I think we need more of that, and that is a welcome, welcome, welcome thing. And I think, many years to Metropolitan Saba.
Yeah. Um, we got $5 from Nathan Kurtz. Thank you for the five, Nathan. Loved Anthony's interview with Matthew. Yeah. Grim Grizz did an excellent one with him. Y'all should check him out. Okay. I don't know who that is. I'll check that out. Yeah, that was a great discussion that I had with Matthew. Actually, we're going to be having another one soon, I think. I've been talking with him and we have another one scheduled. So looking forward to that. Yeah, he's great, Mathieu. That's for those who don't know, Jonathan Peugeot's brother. He's a phenomenal writer and has been, really, I think, really searching now in a good way. I don't want to say too much about that, but yeah, he's been spot on about a lot of his stuff. Um, Going after Alex is insane. He's the most mild one we have. Yeah, yeah, I don't think I've even seen people going after him, but like I said, I'm not too involved in these discourses online. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Oh, there are people who have gone after him. Unfortunately, usually it's the Latinizers. They don't like him because they don't like Father Stephen DeYoung, and Father Stephen DeYoung comes on mine and his channel quite often. So
Oh,
they'll often attack all three of us. There are a couple of figures though, especially on X, that are relatively. I mean, you kind of want to mark and avoid some of these people. Like Hill is one of them, the Latinizer. Pray for him. I don't have anything else to say about him. There's another guy. What's his name? Maximoga or whatever.
oh yeah, yeah.
That
He
guy.
has me blocked too.
Yeah, that guy. When I first was interested in Orthodoxy, or rather, when I made the determination that yeah, this is what I'm going to do, I asked Luigi and I asked Mario for a good block list of subversives day one.
Yeah,
So before I even made the announcement, I went through and I hit that block list. They were like the first two on the list, and for good reason. That Maximoga guy, the Latinizer, he made a graphic like a image or whatever. Not a graphic image, but he made an image of four people in a grid. Two of those people was Father John Whitford and Father Chris. The other two were PDF files. And he said, you get what I'm saying. I'm censoring my words here, not to get your stream taken down. But he said, can you guess which two of these are PDF files? To this day, that image is shared around on X by stupid people, Roman Catholics that don't know any better. And they say, look, bad things happen in the Orthodox Church. There are predators there. And they'll share that. And they'll say, look, these are like predators or whatever. And it's got Father John Whitford and Father Chris, who've never done anything.
Lord of
It's
mercy.
from that freaking Maximoga image that he made. So he'll do stuff like that, knowing that that's going to go
Yeah,
on.
just
So,
giving ammo to our enemies. Yeah,
well, yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, they haven't done anything. He just puts them next to PDF files, next to abusers. Right. So, I mean, it's just like the lowest of the low. But this is what I think is a natural byproduct of holding to this kind of like heretical idea and trying to maintain an orthodox position, a quote unquote orthodox position. Like it causes so much cognitive dissonance that you end up fighting against your own church 9 times out of 10, which is what happened to what's that guy? Who's the apostate priest, the guy that became Lutheran? Do you remember his name?
Spooping.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a Latinizer prior to his apostasy. That was one of the
Yeah.
biggest reasons he apostatized.
I've got I've got some kind of like insider stuff on that I can't talk about, but yes, there was definitely questionable things about even his conversion to Orthodoxy. Um, yeah, I won't say it's not even really just about him, but yeah, it's
Sure. Well, I mean, when I was a Protestant, I had him on the show at one point, and he said the number one reason for his apostasy was penal substitutionary atonement. So that just kind of tells you, right?
Yeah.
Lord have mercy on him. Pray for his conversion.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to apostasy, it's like, yeah, just Lord have mercy, because that's we often throw around the term heretic, and it gets really kind of used loosely. But a heretic is specifically someone who has an encounter with the truth and rejects it. I don't know to what degree that encounter is, but it's like you come to the knowledge of the truth to some degree, and you openly reject it in a public way, and that's something. Yes, just pray for them. I mean, yeah, this it kind of ties into like the notion of like apostasy, anathema, like this exclusivity, and it's I just never understood. I never had a problem with it. First of all, as a former Protestant, because it just made sense to me. You're just applying the same exclusivity of salvation in Christ to His bride, the church. You're saying not only is salvation exclusive through Christ, but there's a incarnational institution that you participate in the life of Christ through, and that is also exclusive. Like it just makes sense to me, and it's like that's safeguards from false teachings and all this stuff. Like I embraced that. I actually was very grateful that that aspect was there. But maybe we could like shift into this a little bit, because I had these questions for you as well. But was there, like, because I know that you didn't seem to have a problem with the veneration of the Theotokos, was there stuff that you found was a roadblock for you, even when you became more convinced of orthodoxy, that was like, yeah, I'm still not sure about this?
Well, at first, I did have an issue with the veneration of the Theotokos. That was like the whole purpose of the Ruslan video, but that's something that changed. Stumbling blocks while I was Orthodox, my own canon law arguments.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest one. I think I had to work through that with people because I had gone through the rudder and formulated these kind of apologetics from epistemology, and that was a real stumbling block for me, um, to being convinced of orthodoxy, because it was like I don't know, I think set myself up in my own rhetorical trap, but unfortunately I'd also set other people up in this rhetorical trap as well. It had to be untangled. I don't want to get too deep into what that exact argument was, because I honestly think it's a dangerous argument and people really shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
So
And we've got Chris Lucas, the Protestant view. I think if Martin Luther did not try to censor Andreas Karlstadt from speaking, that we would have a different Protestantism today. Also, it was dangerous to be open with what someone believed. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, you can go back and watch my stream with Cleave. We talk about how within Luther's time, there were dissenters, the radical reformers, who drastically changed the trajectory of Protestant theology, even though they were, seen as these radicals, that their beliefs were condemned. This is kind of one of my main polemics against Protestantism, is that like you could look at Luther honestly and be like, he had an honest kind of approach to reform. He identified real problems. He didn't like, I want to be really careful with what I say here, but he was I think he was actually careful in what he did. Um, he had some commendable things that he did, but ultimately what he did was to create this void, that by kind of gutting the faith from the mystical theology that has been held throughout church history. People quickly sought to fill that void, and they did so with what was available to them at the time, which was all these kind of Western esoteric practices, alchemy, Kabbalah, and all this stuff. And so that happened like within Luther's lifetime. They couldn't really stop it. Like they could condemn it. And so like basically this is my argument against Protestantism, is that because there's no ecclesiastical guardrails, where there's a universal church or institution to codify their doctrines and creeds and say, if you reject these creeds in any way, you are excommunicated or anathematized or something. They could do that within the denomination, but there's nothing to stop those people from further spreading their heresy. The printing, I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but the printing press, of course, created a new precedence for that, because for the first time in history, you had heresies were able to be permanent within the text, and then transmitted throughout Europe without anyone stopping it. So a lot of stuff got really quickly out of control and took on this kind of anarchic state that was inevitable and couldn't be stopped. So you could even say, you could use the no true Protestant argument and say like, oh, well, these guys weren't really Protestants, but who was then? Because like, if you're going to use that argument, no one's a real Protestant today, unless you're one of these, like, I don't know, who would you say is a true Protestant today? Like these traditional Lutherans,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's subjective depending on who you ask. Protestant is an umbrella term. The apologetic has changed. The apologetic used to be, I'm not going to defend Protestantism anymore. I'm going to defend my own church tradition, whether that be Anglican, Lutheran, so on and so forth. Now the apologetic has become, you're not a Protestant unless you are a part of a mainline institution. So it changes depending on whatever's convenient. But honestly, Protestant is just anything that's like not Roman Catholic, Coptic, Orthodox.
That's kind of how I see it.
And it isn't like a non-Trinitarian sect.
So that's kind of how I see it. But my framing of it in an apologetic sense is it's someone who affirms the five sola, because that I think makes it more something that's identifiable, because otherwise you can't even identify it. You have all these people going around saying, I'm not Protestant, I'm just a Bible believing Christian, or I'm a Christian or whatever. Like, I don't identify with any of these things. But then you push them or you press them on it or whatever, or you don't even have to, but you just press them a little bit and you find that they believe in the five sola. It's like, well, where do you think that came from? Like, that's just from Luther. I mean,
Right.
You're a Protestant. So it's like they just don't like the labels, and they try to say I'm a Christian or I'm a Bible believing Christian, as if there's Christians that don't believe in the Bible or something. It's like, what are you even saying?
Right. Absolutely. Dude, I just I checked my TikTok a second. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, I deal with this too. Yeah, cool, dude. Are Mormons Protestant? I'd lead towards no. I mean, Protestants don't consider them Protestant, but like, again, like this is kind of what I get at with my research. It's like, you can just find the threads that led to Mormonism. They were Protestant threads. It's like, you could, when you're talking about Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, Adventism, like all these, like, dramatically heretical cults, they came from Protestantism, and nothing within Protestantism was able to stop them from developing and further advancing. So, yes, I wouldn't call them Protestants in an apologetic sense, but historically you can just tie the threads right, like straight from Protestantism. I mean, nothing cut them off from it.
I was going to say, I checked my TikTok. One of my videos got 500,000 views just now. It just blew up. I was like, dang, distracted me for a second. I'm sorry.
Wow.
And then Ubi Petrus sent me a text.
Nice.
So I want to respond to him real quick. Um, but yeah, I think the term is usually like an umbrella term. It's just like
Yeah.
it is kind of like a nonsense term. There should be some better identifier or something. You could say mainline Protestant or evangelical Protestant. You could probably break it down into categories, right? But they don't want to do it. They use it however they want for their current apologetic. But one interesting thing that I think we could talk about. Did you see the Joe Rogan Rachel Wilson interview?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I meant to. There was a super chat that came in about that. I missed it. Did I miss that one? Yeah. Oh, I missed a couple here. Sorry, guys. Hope you're still tuned in. Nathan Kurtz. Yeah. Rachel Wilson on Joe Rogan was dope. Yeah, I did see it. I watched it. I was surprised to even see her face on a clip of like it's like, oh, new Joe Rogan episode with Rachel Wilson. I was like, wow, okay.
Dude, yeah, I saw that today. I was
Yeah,
like,
I was like, this is this real?
let's
Um,
go.
so she's going to be. Well, I haven't asked her yet, but we've talked about it a while ago. We're reading her book in my book club on occult feminism. So, so I'm going to reach out to her, and hopefully she didn't get too big now for doing something like that. But I'm going to invite her to have a Q&A for us when we read that book. Hopefully, I should be down for that. But
Yeah, I'm getting the audio book tonight. I'm gonna buy it tonight and I'll listen to it.
yeah,
Um,
Joe was saying the guy's voice was cringe or something. I don't.
dude, well,
Yeah,
I was thinking about that when I was thinking about that when they said that on the podcast, and she's like, I wanted to see it. She said, I wanted to see if Andrew would read it. I'm like, I wonder how hard it would be to read
yeah,
and do an audiobook dub. Because I don't know if the book's not that long, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind doing a voiceover for it. You know what I mean? Or trying to do it. I would have to
yeah,
move my mic closer to my face so my audio
yeah, yeah.
quality is good. But
And we have a
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, like working on speaking without using filler words like like,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, or
that's my
you
big
know,
thing. Yeah, I found that I've gotten a little bit better with that. But yeah, and I'm doing it now. I'm saying and us all the
right.
time. But streaming kind of helps you with that because s- you're trying to force yourself to speak a little bit more eloquently. So I'm hoping that that's what is happening with me. But it's I have really bad
I use
habits with that.
absolutely a lot, absolutely a lot.
Yeah.
In interviews, somebody says something, my filler word before I actually get into my point a lot of times is absolutely, and people will call me out in the comments. I'm like, "Dang it, I did it again."
uh,
You know?
there's another one here. Protestants have thank you for the 5 J Peltier. Protestants have the same hang up that woke people have, and that they think your refusal to affirm their position is a form of violence or erasure. That's a good point. Yeah,
That's what the cops do too. If you don't affirm them as Orthodox, they crash out, they go nuts. I was talking about that in the last stream.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and the Mormons too, with the identifying as Christian. So I got into that with I had an interview with Drew, who was an ex-Mormon, and we talked about that a little bit, like why there's this kind of agenda recently within Mormonism that they insist on being called Christians,
Mhm.
because that's like been the main point of attack against them from all three. Like the Catholics, Protestants, and Orthodox are all saying the same thing against Mormon. It's like that's like our kind of our common enemy, I guess, online or whatever. And so they're also like here, all of us are uniting against Mormons to say that they're not Christian. And so they've had to kind of do a lot of PR to kind of reframe themselves as Christians now. So we were talking about that and how they have all these efforts that they have literal ad campaigns that go on about how they are like they won't use the term Mormon or LDS, like they're really
Right.
subversive. Yeah.
Well, their new ad campaign is take a hot girl and, like,
Yeah,
have her
come to church with me. Yeah.
come to
Oh, you need
church
a
with
buddy to
me.
come to. Well, how about you come to my church? Like, how about that? Like, yeah, I need a
Let's
friend to come to church. Come to liturgy with me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
let's go up in my room and read, the Book of Mormon together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I kind of want to try that. Like, yeah, hey, I need a friend to come to church with me, and just like really try to push them to see if they would come with you. They wouldn't, but
Good grief.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Mormons are so easy to debate. It's like they are LOL cows. I don't know anybody that's converting to Mormonism unless it's like a race thing, you know? Sometimes there's that, like it's a race thing. I think a lot of times converts to Roman Catholicism, sometimes it could be a race thing or a culture thing. Like they think modern Western culture is their ancestry. You know what I mean? Like there's that false idea when Orthodoxy is like pre-historical, pre-denominational. We are, the ancient faith. Even look at the architecture of the early churches in Rome in the West. They look just like Orthodox churches. Modern Gothic architecture, really what they're longing for, and they don't realize this, what they're longing for is what the Jews have told them Western civilization is through media, through the Hollywood. And that looks a lot like Roman Catholicism. That's their
Hmm.
that's a Judaized traditions, right?
Does the
Judaized.
Mormons think?
No, I'm saying converts to Roman Catholicism.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh well, yeah. Did you just see it was the Novus Ordo bishop said something about how one of their prayers was written by a Protestant, and it's like some kind of Jewish prayer. Did you see that?
Yeah, well, yeah, we were talking about that in DMs. Jay had sent that over to me, and we were talking about that. That ties into the Jewish Roman Catholic priest that was one of the authors of
Yeah.
the document.
Yep. Yeah, the homosexual Jewish writer of the Nostra Aetate. Yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
Who?
But
Yeah,
what
who
I was
wrote
talking
about that
about was
himself.
the
By the way, that was in his autobiography.
yeah. But what I was talking about though was sometimes I feel like the converts to Roman Catholicism, they do it because it's like a race thing, just like Mormons sometimes. If there's a guy that converts to Mormonism, it'll be more because it's like a race thing. They see this as like this is white culture, the white blonde hair, blue-eyed girl. This is like, I can have the white picket fence family. This is what the media has told me is like my heritage or tradition or whatever. I think a lot of times people will do the same thing with Rome, and they think that this modern westernized version of tradition is actually their ancestry when it's not. I had the same conversation with DPH, and we were talking about orthodoxy and the traditions of orthodoxy. This is the ancient faith. This is what your ancestors were actually doing. Like you're taking a modernized version of that and conflating that as the actual thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone's got that idea that what their version of Christianity is what the apostles practiced.
Mhm.
Everyone kind of has that common thing. Like the Mormons think that they have this pre-Roman version of Christianity. It's like, oh, before Rome corrupted the faith or whatever, this Trinitarian stuff. Everyone kind of has that view.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should be proud of your culture, of your race, and of these things. You should be. But what I'm saying is they have a false idea of what that entails. I think because of modern media,
Well,
which is
it
ultimately
assumes that your heritage is like an arbiter of what's true. It's like just because my heritage, my cultural lineage and my ancestors held to this view or this faith. It's like this is what this is what all these pagans do. It's the same thing. It's like, well, you have to return to your ancestral religion. It's assuming that they had it right just by means of being your ancestor. And then how far back do you go with that?
well. That's the argument that I'm making, though. I'm saying orthodoxy is that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Orthodoxy is actually the faith of your
Yeah, I'm
ancestors.
talking about race and your geographic location, like just doing that. I mean, because I'm Italian, and people always ask me like, why didn't you just become Roman Catholic because you're Italian? It's like, well, because my ancestors were also Orthodox before the schism. So what, like, like how far
Right.
back do you go in that lineage? It's like how far back do you want to return to your ancestry? It's
Well,
like,
really, if you go all the way back in your ancestry, um, at least religion wise, it's going to end up being the pre-Christian Judaism. So not modern Talmudic
Not that far
Judaism.
back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoa, stop. Yeah, exactly.
right. All the way back to the beginning. It's pre-Christianity, the actual Old Testament Judaism, not to be confused with modern Talmudic
Yeah.
Judaism, which is a completely different religion.
Yeah. Do we have any more? Let's see. Just want to make sure I caught up on all the super chats. Yep, we're all caught up. Let me see if I had any more stuff. I didn't have any like videos and stuff pulled up because I figured you cover pretty much like anything that I might even be able to find on your channel. So I don't know if you've seen the video of Father Peter Hears getting confronted by evangelical preachers on the street.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff like that. That's pretty funny that I think also just gives us more, I don't want to say credibility, but like it just brings more attention to us. And like I said, the comments kind of just sort itself out with videos like that of these evangelists approaching Orthodox people and treating them as if they're not Christian and they have to evangelize to them. That's a common criticism I see, that I think there might be something to that like Orthodox don't evangelize enough, but it's just that we have a different idea of what evangelism is. It doesn't mean going out with a bullhorn on the streets, and we don't permit everyone to do that. But yeah, so a lot of people, and my argument against that is simply that has contributed a lot to the sectarianism of Protestantism, is that you have these uncatechized street preachers just going out preaching their individual version of what Christianity is, and that's representing that's representing it to the people that are hearing it. People that hear anything like that, what's being taught in the street preaching, they've already heard that. It's like you're not doing anything. They think they're fulfilling their role as like being called to the Great Commission by doing that. So like they're doing it for selfish purposes for the most part.
Well, I don't know if all of them are. I think a lot of them.
Not all of them, but yeah, I know that there's genuine ones, but like the ones that you see for the most part that are doing that to like other Christians, whether they be Catholic or Orthodox, I think. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's hard to judge their intent. We can certainly speculate, but I think a lot of them probably come from they're doing what they can with what they've got. They see in the scripture it says that we need to get the gospel to all the nations. We need to baptize in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, so on and so forth. So their whole part of fulfilling the the Great Commission is to go out to to preach, to try to win people over. I mean, I did that as a Protestant too. I think I wasn't out there with like signs and stuff. We just go out and talk to people.
Yeah, they call it soul winning. Yeah.
But I think there's a way that you can go about it and it not be cringe and it not be ineffective.
Sure. Yeah.
Like when I was out, and I'm not saying this is like 100% the correct way to do it, but when I was a Protestant, we would go out to the park and we would just talk to people and say like, hey, look, I'm going to be up front. I'm here with a local church. Is there anything that I can do, or pray for you for? And that's what we would do first. We'd say that like, what, anything I could pray for you for. And we pray for whatever they needed prayed for, let them know, hey, we're here if you need anything, etc. And then also we'd ask them like, hey, like, where are you at? Are you going to a church or whatever? Are you Christian? What are your beliefs? Do you have some time to talk to us about Jesus? And we would just chat with them. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's effective. Sometimes those people would end up going to church, or we'd send them to another church or whatever. But we try not to be abrasive. We try not to be nasty. We wouldn't shout with people. I wouldn't sit there and debate somebody. Like if somebody is like being belligerent and disgusting, I'm not going to sit there and chat with them in person about that, because they're just going to get nasty. It's not going to do anything. Debates are for the people that hear the debate. It's not for the person that you're debating with. So if you're doing that, and there's no audience to hear it, then it's completely pointless, because then it's ego versus ego. So, that's how we did it. I've often thought, I wonder if there would be any bishop that would sign off on a model of Orthodox evangelism that was just like setting up a booth somewhere to have conversations with people. And it just says, like, learn about the ancient faith. I wonder if there would be any bishop that would sign off on something like that. Something to think about in a couple of years when I'm able to do things like that. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what we want to do is bring them to liturgy. It's like come and see. That's like why
Yeah.
why we say that all the time. It's like you could do all this debate and discussion, and it's ultimately has to be experienced. Um, we have $20 from H. Brossi. Thank you, H. Brossi. Appreciate that, man. Want to preface this by saying I really respect Tim Gordon and have followed him for years. So the first time I heard him say a gay Jew invading the priesthood was proof of a demon attacking the true church, I just lost it. Yeah, they say that all the time. That like, oh, all this Jewish subversion is just proof that the Catholic Church is the true church because there's all these historical efforts to undermine it. I mean, my response to that is look at Protestantism. Like you could apply the same thing to Protestantism and it's even more subverted by Judaism. Like Christian Zionism is exclusively Protestant. So if you're going to make that argument, it's so goofy because it's like then if that logic follows, then Protestantism is true because like that's been completely subverted since the beginning.
Yeah, I don't even think they really are saying that as an apologetic though. He's probably just saying that as like a response. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's gonna get hard. Demons are gonna attack it because it's the true church or whatever. So this happening isn't necessarily like a defeater for our position. It's more a defensive statement, I think.
Yeah, I understand that
Yeah.
that argument. I don't know what the context is that he's talking about, but
Oh, he's saying because Nostra Aetate was, Vatican II was basically the church being subverted. He's saying it's not a defeater because, um, people are attacking the church because it's the true church or something. But the reason that it's a defeater isn't because of the subversion itself. It's that these things were dogmatized. It's that these things were formulated in an ecumenical council and then agreed
yeah.
upon. And then now you have to accept them, right? So that is the defeater. But they're trying to make it as like a scandals don't disprove the church argument, which is not the argument. So yeah, I agree. I like Tim Gordon. I like guys like Anthony from Avoiding Babylon. Recently I've gotten to know Joe Enders, who was fired for opposing Zionism. I like these guys. Obviously, I want them to become Orthodox. But I think at least on that front, any traditional, quote unquote, traditional Roman Catholic guy that wants to oppose Zionism, I don't mind talking to them about that because um, I think that's going to be the fight of our age right now. And we have to educate people on the dangers of this Christian Zionism pandemic. It's
Yeah.
really dangerous.
I mean, that's another thing I wanted to bring up because I think that is a huge cause to people looking to more traditional forms of Christianity. I know this is happening in my just a personal anecdote here. My own mother has been Christian Zionist her entire life, like since I was old enough to remember, and she recently has had an awakening. Thank God to all this. Especially after the recent Epstein drops. I think a lot of people woke up
Yep.
from that, but she is now completely opposed to Christian Zionism, sees it as a total demonic thing that it is. And I think that's like the case for a lot of people that are starting to wake up to this and noting that, like, again, kind of what I was saying, like, there's not really a way, there's not a solution that Protestantism has. And again, it's hard to talk about this in a sense because it's like, yeah, Protestantism isn't monolithic, but that is part of the problem is that they can't actually address it in a way that it's like, no, we don't believe this as Protestants. It's like, well, yeah, you do though. There's
Well, they can do that at the individual denominational
yeah,
level, but
exactly.
there is no binding at the universal level for sure. They
Yeah.
don't have any normative authority. They have fallible authorities. They don't have any kind of infallible authority that could bind them. They can't define who is and isn't a Christian, for instance, objectively. They can do it subjectively. They can't do it objectively. Some people that'll fly over their head, like Tim Pool with the epistemology question. Um, but they don't have any. They don't have any infallible authorities outside of the Scripture itself, and that poses a huge issue. So they can't objectively say who is and isn't a Christian, or objectively say who is and isn't a Protestant. That's one of the reasons why Protestant is such a hard term to
Yeah.
define, because they don't have any objective way of defining it. Their epistemology is based off of the interpretation of a book. The book is not supposed to. A book is not an authority. It can't be, right? It has to be whoever's doing the interpreting of that. That is the authority. Just for instance, the Constitution itself, in and of itself, is not an authority. It's the interpretation of the Constitution and its application that's the actual authority, right? It is the government that applies said Constitution that is the actual authority, right? That is just a reference to pull from, right? So
Yeah, and you actually see that in debates over like the Second Amendment, for example.
mhm.
You know, anytime like school shootings come up, you hear from the liberals, they're interpreting the same document we are and saying like, well, you know, it really is applies to a regulated militia, not individual. So it's like they're doing a sola scriptura on the Constitution. It's like now you're getting into this like kind of Talmudic legalistic debate over like what does it actually really mean? What did the fathers of the of the country really mean by that? Like what, like they're all assuming that they knew the mind of the founding fathers. It's the same thing with like all these people think that they understand the mind of the church fathers or whatever, if they even regard them as an authority. Um,
I think the problem is kind of the opposite of that. They don't care what the mind of the fathers of the country is. They are reinterpreting the text in and of itself, devoid of the founding fathers' thoughts. That's kind of what they're trying to do. I think you could draw a parallel between that and modern Roman Catholics. Um, they are often doing the same thing. It's no longer about what the original intent was. We can develop past what the original intent was. We're going to develop past it, and then we're just going to say this is a part of the system. That's like I watched that interview. I've been on a John Kiriakou binge lately, and I watched the interview that he had. I forget what channel it was on, but he was debating another CIA guy, another ex-CIA guy. And the other CIA guy was saying, but that's the whole point of our country, is that we change and update the laws as they happen. So for you to call out the torture program and to blow the whistle on it before a new law was put out or whatever is bad, because they can just update the law. So you kind of wasted your life doing that. So you're saying we can make torture moral by changing the law, right? The same way the Roman Catholic Church can make the death penalty inadmissible by updating their own canon law or statements of various popes. This is like another good example of this would be it was a requirement to commune as a woman to have your head covered prior to the 1960s. Then there was an event called the Easter Bonnet Rebellion, in which it forced the Roman Catholic Church's hand. The Easter Bonnet Rebellion was a feminist protest. They went into the churches. They all had this all planned out. I have a whole article on it. I've done videos on this in the past. But basically, they went there. They knew this priest was like he was kind of like a hard nosed guy. He would not. He had just recently gotten into some kind of scandal for refusing to commune a woman, and he berated her or something because she had no head covering or something. So they knew this was the right person to go to. Anyway, they all go in, they do this thing, they take their bonnets off, and they say, "You're going to commune us anyway." Of course, the priest says no. So it goes all over the news. Anyway, long story short, Roman Catholic Church, after all the pushback, end up actually changing their canon law. So now it dropped the portion of head coverings being a requirement. It says now it is optional, and unfortunately, this leaked into other churches as well. And there's like all sorts of wives' tales about this. I've heard this from people that don't know any better, but they'll say, "Oh, the teased hair myth." Like women stopped wearing head coverings because they started having teased hair in the 80s, which is a lie. Or I've heard this other lie where they'll say this is an even worse and more scandalizing lie, by the way. It's false, completely false. That the Orthodox, some Orthodox, is usually more prevalent in anyway, I'm not even going to say that part. Anyway, they'll say because we were under Ottoman rule so long, we didn't like the Muslims who wore head coverings, so it was a response to that. So they stopped wearing their head coverings under Ottoman occupation, which makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's a complete lie, ahistorical. It's because of feminism, and usually it's feminists that will defend the ahistorical account. But it is a overflow from this feminist revolt in Roman Catholicism, which started, by the way, by a feminist person who was she was the first woman professor of a Catholic university. So
there you go. Oh, well, let's see. Do we have any more? Yeah, I want to thank you for your time, man. It's it's always good talking to you. I definitely would like to collab more, so we'll have to maybe have something planned for reacting to something. I do that once in a while on here, but it'd be fun to do some reactions.
sure,
But
man.
go check out Cleave to Antiquities channel if you haven't already. If you don't subscribe, make sure you get subscribed over there. He's doing a lot of good stuff. He's very active on his channel. I think you stream multiple times per week, right? A couple times, 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
usually do Tuesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's my normal streaming
Yeah.
time. Sometimes I'll adjust that. Sometimes depends on if a guest has, something they need to or whatever.
Yeah. So go check him out. Check out my guest spot over there if you want a little bit of a more deep dive into the esoteric influences of the early Reformation. We had a good talk on that. So go check out Cleave. Thank you, man, for joining me here. It was good talking to you, and have a blessed rest of your Lent. Struggle well and all that. get
There
the
you
good
go.
incense sniffing in.
Yeah, I'll get my incense sniffing in. Good struggles, man. Thanks for having me
Yeah.
on the show. Yeah, dude, we'll definitely have to collab sometime. Y'all have a good night. I appreciate you having me on, dude.
Yeah, man.
All right. See you later.
See ya. All right. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to sign off here. So, yeah, thank you guys. Go check out the reversion.co. Sign on for the book club if you would like to join us in reading. We're currently reading what are we reading right now? Orthodoxy and the Kingdom of Satan by Father Spirit and Bailey, which is excellent. And we're going to be switching over to Radio Gladio, which I'm looking forward to. So if you want a good group of Orthodox guys that are reading and learning together, that's a good opportunity. I don't know anyone else that's doing anything like it. So go check out the reversion.co. You can see our reading list there. I hope you enjoyed this stream. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for the support, especially all of those who sent in very kind donations. See if I can get through the list here. H. Brossi. We've got JBP Peltier. Yeah, actually, I'm not going to go through all the names, but you guys know who you are. I really appreciate you all. We'll see you over on the Discord. If you're not on the Discord already, join there. You can see the link in the description. But I'm going to stop rambling now. Thank you all. I appreciate you. And have a good Lent. So we'll see you maybe next week.